Thank you very much. Do I need a mic? Do I need a mic? Yes, okay, all right. Okay, well, thank you very much, Michele, and indeed it's my task within 10 minutes to bring you on speed for those who don't know the project especially, what are the thoughts behind the project and what the design of the project was. And actually to start with, I also want to use some history and go back to the Big Bang, and in this case this is the Big Bang, an intellectual Big Bang, and you already referred to it, Michele, because it is the genesis of the call text. The call text, as you pointed out, is on technology assessment, and really that is much broader than everything which we had seen before from the Commission's side in terms of projects, because of course we are not looking at individual products and services in most of the other projects. I just tried to identify the key points of the call text with which we were confronted when writing the proposal. As Michele already said, it was about existing and future technologies, sustainability in the broad sense of the word, life cycle approach, so obviously all the steps in the process chain were supposed to be included, and then maybe the biggest challenge, to develop a methodology, but not only to develop it, also to show that it works with tools, operational tools, in the various domains, with participatory approaches in the social domain being requested, and also pointing out that technology is not technology. You may have technologies which are very specific, very confined, whereas others are very broad, interconnected, and represent systems rather than individual technologies. So all this was supposed to be covered and proven for large-scale implementation. So not a functional unit of 1 ton of a given product, but really the large-scale use of the technologies in society. And we were supposed to show and will show that we can manage this in using 4 case studies. So this were the requirements, as I said, very broad. Now the question was, what did we make out of it? And if I say we, I need to point specifically also to Mark Heubrecht, who played a very important role in preparation of the proposal. The main gaps which we identified and which are actually listed on the first page of the proposal and sort of set the scene are the following. The first is we really mean to come up with clear guidance on how to assess technologies, and the emphasis here is more on the future than on the existing ones. Large scale, of course, is part of that as well. Then the other 3 items cover the 3 domains of sustainability. For environmental assessment, we were all pretty clear and agreeing in the consortium that a lot of work had already been done in LCA. So there it was more to get on speed in terms of getting the latest knowledge into the project. For the economic domain, it was more about looking at the macroeconomics, because we felt other aspects were covered sufficiently rather well. And then the really challenging parts were the social the domain, where even indicators were not clearly agreed upon, and obviously then to integrate the various elements to a common message. So how did we do this? And now I'm running through the various elements, and actually these represent also the structure of the work packages. One of the work package deals with the technology, and very briefly the elements for those who are not anyway aware of it. The first work package would look at what are decisive sustainability features in order to sort of set the scene for the further assessment, and to avoid that we are too much locked in to...
Can you, excuse me,
yeah?
very directly into the mic, because we're recording today.
All right.
Go to other side of
And the other side? Okay. Okay.
Thank you.
All right, so in order to set the scene and to avoid that we're locked in and actually overlook important features. Then the idea was, in the basic engineering modules, to start building a database, but also science-based relationships which are required in order to model unit processes. Of course, it was clear we would not cover all the technologies, but to make a start and to show that this works out and can be connected to the rest. And finally, learning curves to account for technological progress and to show that this really also, to assess whether this works out also for early stage evaluations. Thank you. The next block, yeah, if you just press, indeed, obviously for environment we were focusing on LCA, and then in there, in the early stage of the project it already became clear we could make a nice link to LC Impact, so another EU-funded project coordinated by Mark Heubrecht. That meant that for ProSuit we needed to develop normalization factors, and in addition, linking up to one of the case studies, some basic work had to be done on assessing the occupational health related to nanoparticles. Then, in line with the thinking of LCA, in the economic domain, we were saying, okay, we would also need to cover all steps in the process chain, so life cycle costing, where we developed a module, a tool, in order to quantify the cost of technologies for early stage, so when you don't really have an existing technology. But then I think the bigger challenge was to move up to macroeconomics, and there to look especially at the contribution to economic growth. That was one of the things which in other projects actually had not been done. And moreover, at uncertainty in decision making related to investments. Finally, regarding the domains of sustainability, social assessment, as I already indicated there, one of the big tasks was to review existing indicators and then to select them and further process them. If we then move on, sorry? Yes, I'm nearly there. The whole, of course, everything is interconnected. I could have put in even more arrows. Some are more bidirectional than others. So these are the main relationships, I believe. But then the next step is to bring things together, and there we would be applying multi-criteria assessment. And again, in order to do so, given the different units and indicators used in the various blocks, we would need normalization as well. So all this were challenges for which earlier work had not been done, and for which really new analysis was required. Well, that was basically it. I just wanted to end with the overview for those who have not. Now I really have to run through of the various work packages. No, there was one more slide. That other aspects which we needed to consider were the development over time. So looking into the future, we decided that our time scope would be around until 2020 to 2030. Location-specific aspects, that's very obvious, related to social assessment, to economics, that's always related to a certain geographical context, but also in LCA, specific work was being done, for example, related to water use. And then uncertainty was also something in the proposal where we said we need to look at different types of uncertainty. In the proposal we phrased it as uncertainty including ambiguity and complexity. We deviated a little bit then later on when executing the project. Final slide then on the work packages for those who don't anyway know it. What I discussed so far were the 5 work packages covering the core of the project, but then we have the case studies which will be discussed today, the software development which is also an integral part, dissemination and coordination. That was it. Thank you very much.